Have you ever wondered how one day can change the course of history? Picture a serene Tuesday morning in September, the year 2001. The streets of America were bustling, children were hurrying to school, adults were making their way to work, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled local cafes. It was a day like any other, mirroring the normality we all take for granted. But little did anyone know that this day was about to become an indelible mark on the pages of history. On that fateful morning, the world watched in horror as 4 coordinated terrorist attacks, orchestrated by the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda, shattered the peace. The targets were iconic: the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. Within a span of a few hours, these symbols of American power and resilience lay in ruins. The immediate aftermath was a scene of chaos and confusion. Smoke billowed from the wreckage, sirens wailed, and the cries of the bewildered and the wounded echoed through the streets. News broadcasts around the globe were saturated with images of the devastation. The enormity of the situation was hard to grasp, even for those witnessing it firsthand. As the dust settled, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Thousands of innocent lives were lost, countless families were torn apart, and the sense of security that once prevailed was replaced with fear and uncertainty. The shock was palpable, not just in America, but across the world. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating impact of hatred and extremism. What started as a typical Tuesday morning had, in a matter of hours, turned into a day of infamy. The events of September 11th served as a grim testament to the fact that a single day can indeed alter the course of history. The world stood still, watching, grieving, and trying to comprehend the magnitude of the tragedy. In just a few hours, the world had changed. But what exactly transpired on that fateful day? The morning of September 11th, 2001 began just like any other day. But as the clock ticked on, it became a day that would forever be etched in the annals of history. At 8:46 a.m., a commercial airliner loaded with passengers and jet fuel crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The world watched in horror as smoke billowed from the skyscraper, with many believing it to be a tragic accident. However, the idea of a simple accident was shattered just 16 minutes later when a second plane hit the South Tower. At this point, it became clear to the world that this was no accident, but a deliberate act of terror. The World Trade Center, a symbol of America's economic might, was under attack. The horror didn't stop there. At 9:37 a.m., a third plane crashed into the Pentagon, the heart of America's military command. The symbol of the nation's defense wasn't spared from this wave of terror. Meanwhile, on United Flight 93, a different story was unfolding. After realizing their flight had been hijacked, the brave passengers decided to fight back. Their courageous attempt to retake control of the plane ended with it crashing into a field in Pennsylvania, preventing another potential disaster. Their heroism would become a beacon of hope amid the despair. The attacks of September 11th unfolded in less than 2 hours. Yet, in that short span of time, the world as we knew it was irrevocably changed. Thousands of lives were lost in an act of violence that was both unimaginable and unprecedented. The images of that day, the smoke-filled skies, the crumbling towers, the faces etched with fear and disbelief, are indelibly printed in our collective memory. They serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the destructive power of hatred. In less than 2 hours, thousands of lives were lost and countless more were changed forever. But how did the world respond to such an unprecedented act of terror? In the wake of the September 11th attacks, the global reaction was swift, united, and profound. Countries around the world expressed their deep shock and sorrow, offering condolences and support to the United States. A wave of grief and solidarity swept across nations, a testament to the shared human capacity for empathy in the face of unimaginable devastation. The international community rallied around the United States, pledging their unwavering support. From heads of states to ordinary citizens, the world stood shoulder to shoulder with America, sharing in its pain and extending hands of friendship and assistance. This was a time when political differences were set aside and a shared sense of humanity took precedence. Beyond expressions of grief and solidarity, the world also took immediate action. Governments across the globe tightened their security measures, reinforcing their borders and ramping up their surveillance. Airports, seaports, and other points of entry were placed on high alert with enhanced scrutiny to prevent any similar acts of terror. The international community understood that this was not just an attack on the United States, but an assault on peace and security everywhere. The United Nations, the world's premier international organization, played a crucial role in coordinating the global response. It swiftly passed resolutions condemning the attacks and calling for international cooperation in the fight against terrorism. The global community recognized the need for collective action and unity in this crucial moment. In addition, countries around the world offered their resources and expertise to assist the United States in its recovery efforts. International aid poured in, from financial assistance to specialized teams aiding in search and rescue operations. It was a clear demonstration of the world's commitment to stand together in times of crisis. The response to the September 11th attacks was a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In the face of such immense tragedy, the world showed its capacity for unity, empathy, and action. It was a time when humanity's collective strength shone through the darkest of days. The world had come together in the face of terror. So what were the far-reaching consequences of this horrific event? In the wake of September 11th, the world as we knew it was altered, its landscape forever scarred by the aftershocks of this cataclysmic day. One of the most notable outcomes was the declaration of the War on Terror, a global military, political, and ideological struggle spearheaded by the United States and its allies. This war was not confined to a single country or region, but spread across continents, seeping into the fabric of nations far and wide. The War on Terror opened a new chapter in global politics, one marked by heightened tensions and a shift in alliances. New enemies were identified, old friendships strained, and the complex web of international relations was further entangled. This war on an abstract enemy, a concept rather than a nation, blurred the lines of traditional warfare and posed new ethical and moral dilemmas. The reverberations of September 11th were also felt in the way security and surveillance were perceived and implemented. Air travel in particular underwent a radical transformation. Stricter protocols were enforced, advanced technologies were employed, and a new agency, the Transportation Security Administration, was created in the United States. These changes were mirrored around the world as nations ramped up their security measures in an effort to prevent a recurrence of such an attack. Beyond the tangible, the terror attacks of September 11th instilled a deep-seated sense of fear and apprehension. The illusion of invulnerability was shattered and a new era of uncertainty dawned. This event triggered a shift in global consciousness, forcing us to confront the fragility of our existence and the depths of human cruelty. The echoes of September 11th still resonate in our world today. The lessons we've learned, the changes we've made, and the sacrifices we've endured all stem from this one calamitous day. The aftermath of September 11th is not just a chapter in our history. It's a testament to our resilience, a reminder of our vulnerability, and a call to strive for a world where such atrocities are relegated to the past. But what does this all mean? As we look back on that fateful day in September, it's clear to see the profound and lasting impact it had on our world. The September 11th attacks were not just a human tragedy, but a pivotal event in world history that reshaped our understanding of terrorism, security, and international relations. Before that day, the world had a somewhat distant relationship with terrorism. It was something that happened elsewhere to other people. But the attacks brought it home, made it real for everyone, and highlighted the need for global cooperation in the fight against such threats. They also redefined our concepts of security. The world's most powerful nation had been attacked on its own soil, revealing vulnerabilities that were previously unthinkable. This led to a dramatic shift in international security protocols and policies. As we reflect on this tragedy, we realize its significance. September 11, 2001, a day of tragedy, a day of change, a day the world will never forget.